Biotechnology. What is it? Well, by definition, it is the use of living organisms to make a desired product and uses biology applications to do so. What does that mean? That means if there is a problem that scientists can solve using biology, they do so by means of biotechnology. A lot of people think that biotechnology is a newer science or a newer type of biology, but really it's been around for a very long time. It's been around since people first began altering crops or animals for domestication. And these were done using selective breeding or hybridization. Some of these problems would be how to make dogs be more effective at hunting, or how to make chickens better egg layers, or how to make corn bigger so that way one ear of corn is more filling than having to eat multiple ears of corn. So to start off, just a little bit of background on what we've been doing. We'll talk about selective breeding. Selective breeding is a process in which organisms are selected based on desired traits to become parents of the next generation. I have two examples, one of which is corn, kind of like what I mentioned on the previous slide. If you look at the picture of the corn, the very far left looks like a very scrawny, skinny piece of a plant. That is actually ancestral corn. It's referred to as teosinte. Farmers were able to select teosinte and through generations would choose teosinte plants that would produce larger seeds that they could then eat. And you can see that as we move along the pictures of the corn, moving from left to right, this becomes bigger and bigger to eventually what we see today in modern day corn. Another example would be dogs. Dogs are domesticated animals. They've originated from the gray wolf, which I have a picture on top of the dog picture. Now, dogs are all related no matter what breed of dog we're talking about. Dog breeds have been selective for the various traits that they have. Some dogs were bred to be hunters and have a strong sense of smell. Some dogs were bred to be fast, and so they physically are able to run faster than others. Some dogs were bred to be loyal companions, and so they were chosen to have very family-oriented traits of being friendly and being good around kids. And then some dogs were bred to be protectors, a little bit more aggressive, but still being able to be around the family as well. And so these are just examples of selective breeding, which is done over generations in order to solve a problem or get a desired result. The next thing I want to mention or give you background on is hybridization. It's very similar to selective breeding, but it's slightly different because this process is where breeders will cross two genetically different individuals so that the hybrid or the offspring will have the best traits from both parents. And I have a couple of examples here that might make this make a little bit more sense. The first one is the mule, which I have a picture here. The mule is actually a result of a horse and a donkey mating. The resulting offspring would be the mule. Horses and donkeys are not identical animals. They are genetically different, but they are able to breed and they are able to produce offspring. So why would anybody want a mule? Well, the mule actually has the, the benefits of both a horse and a donkey. The mule is large and powerful like a horse, but the mule is able to walk in a very stable fashion like a donkey. And so farmers can benefit from having mules work on their farm. Another example, which is a plant example, is the clementine. The clementine is actually a cross between two different oranges, and they are genetically different. This would be the mandarin orange and a sweet orange, and as a result, produce the clementine. So, talking about selective breeding and talking about hybridization, which are techniques that we have been doing for thousands of years, leads us into the idea of biotechnology. Biotechnology is going to use advanced biology applications for various purposes. Those purposes will include producing products for agriculture, producing products for medical technology, and then also producing products for industry. So what exactly does that mean? Well, biotechnology in agriculture will always have a goal to create larger crops or to have larger livestock yield. And what that means is being able to use science to create larger apples or larger ears of corn or larger tomatoes, or to have beef cows also have larger body size so that way it produces more beef. The idea is that if we can produce these larger crop yields or livestock yields using the same resources, we can feed more people with the same amount of cost. Biotech in agriculture will also create crop or livestock that's resistant to disease or pests, which means that seeds will have a natural tendency, if planted, to have some sort of resistance to what would be natural diseases or pests. And so these crops that would be planted would not be affected by any localized diseases or pests. It also creates crop or livestock that could be nutritionally enhanced. Promotes sustainable farming, how to have higher yields for a lower cost and lower use of resources. I have two examples. The first one is really a nickname, and that nickname would be fishberries, which refer to special strawberries that have been genetically modified to be able to grow in a longer growing season. So they can grow in slightly cooler temperatures. And that's because they contain genes from fish that have cold tolerance. And so that allows the strawberry to also be cold tolerant. Another example would be rice or golden rice. I have a picture of regular white rice compared to that of golden rice. Golden rice is designed to contain vitamin A so that people that would eat the golden rice would be able to get sufficient amounts of vitamin A, which is important for eye development and eye function. Now, biotechnology in medicine has its specific goals. Its goals would be to produce vaccines that are able to reduce disease or sickness. It helps to make medicines to treat diseases or sicknesses. It improves disease detection, so being able to identify whether or not an individual would develop a particular disease. It creates specialized disease treatments that could be specific to individuals. And some examples would be insulin that individuals that have diabetes would need in order to be able to regulate their blood sugar levels. This insulin is harvested in a biotechnology lab. And I have a picture of what this vial actually looks like. And you can actually see that it says on the bottle that it is insulin of a special DNA origin, meaning it's found out of the DNA in the lab. And then another example would be newer breast cancer treatments for women that develop breast cancer. They would be tested to see if their breast cancer was inherited, and if so, they could be given a medicine that is designed to target that particular aspect of their genetics. And an example of this would be Herceptin. And then finally, biotech and industry, its goals would be to reduce pollution and natural resource usage. It reduces costs in business manufacturing. And some examples of this would be modern day laundry detergents. Laundry detergents are able to clean laundry using biotechnology and enzymes to break down any stains or dirt. And then also biofuels. Biofuels are designed to be sustainable and plant-based in order to heat or power anything that would normally require any type of petroleum-based fuels or fossil fuels. So how is biotechnology done? It's done using various techniques within the lab, some of which would be cloning or making copies of other organisms that are identical. It can be done using genetic engineering, meaning being able to take a gene from one organism and inserting that gene into a different organism's DNA, thus creating what we call a transgenic organism. Biotechnology can be done using DNA fingerprinting, which is like the picture that is towards the bottom on the right, and that's where we can use this to solve crimes and do a comparative DNA analysis to be able to identify who a suspect or convict a suspect in a particular crime. And of course, there's a lot more to this. The thing about biotechnology is that this is where scientists are able to use creativity and are able to develop various techniques in order to solve problems. Biotechnology is always changing. New science is always being developed. And really the idea is if you can dream it, it can probably be done in the biotechnology lab.